Come on in, honey. The lantern's lit, the veil's a little thin, and the wind's been dying to carry a few secrets your way. Welcome to Raven's Ramblings, where the shadows walk beside us and the past never stays buried, and a good spell can speak louder than a sermon. I'm Raven Nightingale, part healer, part hellraiser, keeper of the old ways and ghost stories alike. So pull up a chair and listen close. You never know what might be whispering in the dark. Back, everybody. We've just finished up our little crystal series, and I just want to give a couple of tips and tricks for crystals. Since we kind of went over each specific one, we're going to talk a little bit about cleansing crystals. So, before charging your crystals, it's important to cleanse away any stagnant or absorbed energy because they absorb everything around them. So, different crystals have different tolerances. So, always choose whatever's safe for whatever crystal you're trying to cleanse. Okay. Some of the different ways are water. You can rinse some of the crystals under running water or in a river or even out in the rain. Now, this is not safe for any soft or porous stones like selenite or malachite or howlite. You don't want to do that because it's going to basically dissolve your crystal. You don't want to do that. Another way to do it is to use salt. You can place it in a bowl of sea salt or Himalayan salt overnight. Once again, we're going to avoid our softer crystals for that because salt is abrasive, so it can scratch your crystals. A simple one that's safe for all stones is smoke. So you could pass your crystals through incense smoke or sage or cedar or whatever kind of smoke cleanse that you're doing, you can pass your crystals through that, and that's safe for any stone. Now, I personally use this next one quite a bit here recently, sound. Use bells or singing bowls or chanting to clear that energy. So anytime I get new crystals in, I lay them all out and I ring my altar bell around them and to clear that energy and stuff. Another way is bury it in soil. So you're going to use the earth. So you're going to bury it in soil or sand for 24 hours to reconnect with natural grounding. Now, another way that I've done in the past, and I don't know why I've done it, I just know that I always have, is I've thrown things in my freezer. I throw it in my freezer for 24 hours and then pull it out, and it feels cleansed to me. And that may not work for everyone, but that worked for me in the past. But now I have moved on to sound, which is my little altar bell. That's kind of loud, isn't it? That's what I use to cleanse most of my stuff that I get now. Just because it's simple, it's easy, it's quick, that kind of stuff. I don't know about y'all, but I feel like I'm running around with my head cut off most of the time. So quick and easy, quick and easy. I like it. So once you've cleansed your crystals, you want to charge your crystals. Okay. And you can charge them for specific intentions, or you're recharging them to kind of restore and amplify their innate energy. Okay, some of the ways to do that is moonlight. This is extremely common, especially among witches. You put your crystals in a bowl and you put them outside under the full moon, and that's a very gentle, powerful recharging. And this is great for all crystals, but especially for intuitive ones like amethyst or the la- labradorite, or rose quartz. Okay. Now, another way to do it is sunlight. Now, this is going to be the opposite of the moonlight. Moonlight is more of the divine feminine, and sunlight is more of the divine masculine. But a quick burst of a solar energy for like that vitality and strength stones like citrine or carnelian or tiger's eye. Those are great. Now, you do want to avoid stones that fade, which would be like an amethyst or a rose quartz, because it's going to fade that color and it's not going to charge that energy really like you're wanting to. Those are more moonlight stones, but the carnelian, citrine, and tiger's eye, that's great under sunlight and that solar energy. Now, earth energy is great. You bury it in the ground or in a potted plant, or even place near crystals like hematite to recharge it naturally. And I do have several pieces of hematite that I scatter throughout my altar to kind of keep things recharged on the go. Okay. Now, another way to charge is like crystal clusters or geodes. You want to place small stones or smaller stones on like an amethyst cluster or inside of a quartz geode for recharging. And that's a little bit harder to do because a lot of people don't have either the clusters or the geodes, or they don't have stones small enough to put on those. But if you do, that's a great way to recharge. Another very simple way is visualization. So you're just going to hold your stone, close your eyes, and imagine it glowing with white or golden light and recharge it with your intent. Okay. So that's a couple of recharging tips. And some simple little tips, witchy tips, really. Intent is key. All right. You always want to set a clear purpose when you are cleansing or charging your crystals. Like, I cleanse this stone of stagnant energy and charge it for protection. You want to give it a very, very clear direction. Yeah, there we go. That's what word I'm looking for. Always remember crystal pairings like clear quartz can recharge other stones and amplify their energy, no matter what. That that was this one. Remember this big, huge one that I showed you? I love this one. So it's really good for helping. It's kind of a helper stone and a catch-all stone. Okay. Now, regular care of your crystals. You want to cleanse those crystals and recharge them after any heavy emotional work or spell work, or even if the stone just feels kind of dull or off in your hand. It just means that it may have some extra energy attached to it, and you want to kind of get rid of that and recharge it back to its baseline. Okay. So, that is some basic tips and tricks and cleansing and charging and all that stuff for crystals. Now, I said in my obsidian one that I was going to tell you where I get a lot of my crystals now. So I recently found the app called Whatnot, and it is an auction site, and it is fabulous for great deals. Okay. Now, I would say be careful, look at reviews, that kind of stuff when you're going to buy crystals online from places like Whatnot. But the one seller that I get a lot of my stuff from, and I've actually got my phone going with they tend to do their shows in the middle of the night. They are on the West Coast. And it is a seller called Wounded Serpent. Let me see if I can pull up their profile so you can kind of see. So this is Wounded Serpent, and they have some of the most amazing crystals I think I have ever seen in my life, and they have absolutely amazing prices. Everything that I have gotten in from them has been beautiful and perfect and has wonderful energy to it. Now I still do cleanse it and, charge it with my own intent and stuff. And, that's with anything, right? So that that is where I get a lot of my crystals, and I'll actually put that in the show notes for this one so you can go and look them up. But look them up; they're amazing. It's a guy named Mike and his partner Luna. They are hilarious to listen to, and and I just go in there just to listen to them a lot of times because they're just hysterical to me. And they do lots of little giveaways and stuff, and they have absolutely, and that's where the majority of these particular crystals, well, not the majority, but a lot of these crystals actually came from. Wonderful, some wonderful stuff. So, that is the end of this particular crystal series. I may, gather some more up and pull some out of the crystal drawers and go over some more tips and tricks and stuff and tell you a little more about them. If you have a specific crystal you want to hear about or want to see, by all means, send me a message, drop me a comment, and I'll see if I've got it in my ridiculous plethora of crystals. Now, one thing about the crystals that I keep is all these that I've shown over the last few episodes are larger crystals. These are not crystals that I would normally use in like a spell jar or something because my spell jars are usually quite small. So to do that, I use like little chips and stuff. I've got some right here. So it's just like little small pieces of those particular stones that are charged with that intent. And I even have a smaller thing of chips and stuff that I use. Um, and that's usually what I use in like spell jars and little charm bags and that kind of stuff. Now I do use quite a few tumbles, like my obsidian stuff. This is one of my smaller ones. Um, and if I was using it for myself, I would put that in a charm bag or whatever. If I'm doing a spell jar for someone, I'm probably going to use those smaller chips because it's going to be in one of those little small jars that you can get from like Dollar Tree. That's where I usually get my little tiny spell jars because they're cheap and they're perfect. And there you have the screw top, and it's amazing. So Dollar Tree for spell jars, Wounded Serpent on Whatnot for crystals, and of course your local metaphysical shop. If you have one, by all means, support local businesses. 100%. Where I live, we don't have that. The closest thing we have is, I'm sure everybody has seen it in a mall somewhere across America. It's called Earthbound Trading Company, I think it is. That's the only crystal type place locally to me. Everything else is probably 2 to 3 hours away from me because I live in the Bible Belt and we don't need any of that hinky stuff around here. So, if you have any questions or comments, please leave me one. Please let me know what you think about the show. Uh, and I'm sure I'll be talking to y'all soon. So, bye.